Shabbat Shalom to everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome everyone to our minyan, especially those of you who are here to celebrate Jacob's bar mitzvah. I look forward to celebrating with you this morning. I vividly remember my very first moments on my first trip to Israel, which was before the beautiful new terminal at Ben Gurion Airport was built. At that old terminal, everyone needed to deplane by stairs and then walk across the tarmac to the terminal. As soon as we exited the plane and walked down those stairs, 20 or 30 people were lying on the ground, kissing the concrete. I immediately felt the rush that I was indeed home, and this place was special. So I kissed the ground as well. I was a young teenager. I had never been to Israel, and here I was, kissing the ground on the airport tarmac. I am sure many of you who visited Israel during this period remember similar experiences. Many, unfortunately, do not have that experience today, as the fortunate reason is you now enter directly into a bright and modern terminal. But the feelings of entering Israel are still different than entering any other country. Jews around the world have a special relationship with Israel. The land, the country, the people. Wherever we are in the world, we face Jerusalem to pray. And as we saw on October 7th, when Israel is attacked and threatened, we feel that we have been personally attacked. This has been highlighted again over the past few weeks as we wait for Iran and Hezbollah to attack Israel. Like many of you, I check my phone before I go to bed. The first thing I do when I rise in the morning, and numerous times throughout the course of the day. The feeling in our heart binds us to Israel in so many profound ways. This past week, we commemorated Tisha B'Av. For 2,000 years, we recall the day that the temples were destroyed in Jerusalem. And wherever we find ourselves in the world today, we mourn for the loss of those temples in our homeland. We fast for 25 hours. We sit on the floor and we recreate the feeling that we are truly mourning a huge loss in our lives. It would have been understandable for the generation, possibly the generation after that actually saw the temple destroyed, to mourn. But the power of Judaism is that thousands of years later, generations later, wherever we are in the world, we pause and we are still mourning for what took place all those years ago in Jerusalem. That is the power of Jerusalem and how personal and important it is in our communal and in our own lives. In this morning's Parsha, Vayet Hanan, as the Israelites are camped on the edge of the Jordan River, Moses once again implores God to let him enter the land of Israel. Once again, God refuses to let Moses enter that land. Instead, God tells Moses that he may go up to the mountain and he may see with his eyes into the land of Israel. After 40 years of being the one to lead the Israelites from Egypt to the promised land, he is only allowed to see in to that land. There's a beautiful story that I want to share with you about looking for Jerusalem. That once across the countryside in Europe, a battle raged. Two armies with hundreds of soldiers were positioned on opposite sides of the battlefield, and they were fighting with everything they had. Shots rang out, and smoke of gunpowder filled the air. As the general looked through his binoculars, he suddenly saw what he couldn't believe. There was an old Jew who was hurrying across the battlefield, totally oblivious to the conflict that was at hand. Every once in a while, the old Jew would stop. He'd put his hands on his forehead and he'd look out. Then he would shake his head and continue scurrying across the battlefield. The general called out to him, telling him to stop. But the old man paid no attention to him. He kept running amidst the shots and fray of the battle. The general was astounded at this sight, that he forgot about the battle, and he began running after this old man. Panting and racing after him, he called him to stop. Finally, the man turned around and he looked at him, but then he continued to run, stopping only occasionally to again put his hand on his forehead and look out, showing that he was truly looking for something. Totally bewildered, the general finally caught up to him, and he screamed at the top of his lungs, "Old man, what are you doing? Don't you know that it's dangerous here? You could get killed." Still, the old Jew paid no attention to him. Resuming his running, again the general caught up to him, frantically yelling out, "What are you looking for? What do you see?" The old man turned to him and said, "I'm looking for Jerusalem." The general was dumbfounded. Did he say he was looking for Jerusalem? He shouted back at the old man, "You can't see Jerusalem from here. They were miles and miles away. Are you crazy?" The old man looked at him, that he could barely wait for the general to finish talking, and then without even responding, he began his running through the battlefield. The general followed not far behind him, and only now he too was stopping now and then, putting his hand to his forehead and looking out. Finally, exasperated, the general screamed at him, "You can't see Jerusalem from here. I don't see it at all. I don't see anything." The old man paused. He took his hand down from his forehead. "You are looking for Jerusalem, but you will never see it. You see, you're looking with your eyes. When you're looking for Jerusalem, you must look with your heart instead." One of the critical early Zionist thinkers of Orthodoxy, Rav Kook, said that Moses was denied entry into the Promised Land in order to forever instill in the Jewish people the yearning to enter the land of Israel. We have maintained the mourning traditions of Tisha B'Av because we are still so upset that 2,000 years ago we were forced out of the land, and we always dreamed of returning. Now that we have returned to the land of Israel as a people, we must maintain that level of connection in our hearts. Moses begs to go into the land of Israel. We kiss the ground, and we yearn still today, halfway around the world, to protect and care for the land of Israel. We pray for Israel's safety at this critical moment. We must all emulate Moses and want to support the land and Israel as much, and see the land of Israel as much as he did. We may not have the opportunity to regularly visit, but we can fill our heart supporting Israel and searching for a more peaceful future. Shabbat Shalom. We turn to the Torah reading this morning, which I mentioned is Parshat Vayetchanan, which is found page 1015 in your Chumash, chapter 5, verse 1 of the book of Devarim, Deuteronomy. With the Kohen Aliyah, we honor Andy Cohen. The Levi Aliyah we honor with Oren Rubin. Shlishi, Masha Blankenship. Rivi'i, the fourth Aliyah, Barry Kling. The fifth Aliyah goes to Barbara Waltz. The sixth Aliyah, Benjamin Schmuckler. The seventh Aliyah goes to our proud parents, Boris and Rebecca Schmuckler. And the Maftir goes to our Bar Mitzvah. Hagbah, lifting the Sefer Torah, Rob Waltz. And Stacy Madigan is Galila, dressing the Sefer Torah. All those people with honors, please come to this open seats to the left of the Bima as we continue with the Torah reading this morning.